So we're here today at the IDTechEx show in Santa Clara, California, and I'm talking to Mr. Ian Russell, who is the COO at Pireta. So Ian, can you tell us a little bit about your company and background and what you're showing us here today?
Okay, well, Pireta is a startup company. We've been formed a spin out of the National Physical Labs in the UK. We are here to exhibit our process for adding conductivity into textiles. So we allow conductive patterns to be printed directly onto the textile. Our process results in the textile itself becoming conductive. The process allows electronic circuits to be assembled directly onto the textile. And the key thing that is different about our process is it retains all the original performance characteristics of the fabric. So the fabric remains breathable, stretchable, the handle and drape of the fabric are not affected.
So what do you see in terms of, so there's several companies offering other solutions for when it comes to inks or different functionalization when it comes to that. You mentioned keeping the qualities of the fabric. What are the other ways in which you see yourself as like the differentiation that you have with these products?
Well, if we can just pause on that for a minute, I mean, I think there are alternative technologies, as you mentioned. You can use conductive inks, or you can stitch in or weave in conductive yarns. Each of those processes, well, they are functional, but they do have a negative impact on the way the fabric behaves. And if you look at this transition which is going on in the wearables market from products that are, component-based in enclosures to garments that can be worn over a long period of time that have been functionalized with intelligence and electronics. For that transition to take place, you've got to have garments that are comfortable to wear and can be worn over a sustained period of time. That's what we refer to as truly wearable, and that is what our technology is enabling. The fact that none of the performance characteristics of the fabric are impacted by our process, that's the key thing that makes us different.
And then I guess you can work with things like encapsulation or different functionalization on top of what you have, but you keep the fabric underneath. Is that sort of what you're saying?
That's right, yeah. I mean, again, because we apply a thin metallic coating to the individual fibers that make up the textile. That means the textile itself is functionalized, the textile becomes conductive. The process we use uses standard commercial printing equipment and immersion processes. It uses fairly standard chemistry. The materials used are low cost and it's additive, so there's no waste. Another important characteristic of the process, it can be applied at any stage in manufacture, so it can be applied to the original textile on the roll or to a finished garment like the one we've got here.
Fantastic. So you mentioned the technology came from NPL, the National Physical Laboratory in the UK. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about that process, how sort of forming the technology, spinning it out into the company, where you're at today.
Well, the NPL, as you know, is a well-renowned scientific research establishment. They do research in a number of areas. They had been carrying out this research into e-textiles, and they got to the stage where it had reached a point where they thought it was sufficiently interesting to explore commercializing it. So we worked with Midven, who are an early stage venture capital firm. They provided some initial investment. NPL licensed the technology out to Pireta, gave Pireta an exclusive license to the technology, and since then Midven have been joined by some private investors, and the company was spun out in 2017. We're now in the process of commercializing the technology. We are looking for development partners, joint development partners who are interested in building e-textile based products. We see ourselves working with those partners to refine and take the process into manufacture to help prototype and develop their e-textile products.
So when you talk about these products, the interest that you're seeing, are there any specific product areas or application areas where you're seeing a particular amount of interest at the moment?
I think there are various sectors where there's interest, and the nature of the interest varies from sector to sector. So it could be sports apparel, where you're looking at measuring physiological parameters. There are healthcare applications. Wound management is an area where we've seen interest. We've got interest in transportation, where you're looking to functionalize upholstery. So there's a whole range of different application areas. The ones that interest us most are where it's critical to for the fabric to retain its properties and be wearable and usable over a long duration.
Excellent. So we're just here on kind of the first afternoon of the event here at the IDTechEx show, but how's your experience been so far in this environment?
It's great. It's been a really good show so far for us. I think the launchpad, where we've got an awarded a place at the launchpad by IDTechEx, that's been excellent for us. It's been a really good show. We've had lots of interesting visitors. Just a shame I haven't had enough time to get into the conference. I would have liked to have done more than that, but it's been great for us so far.
Well, fantastic. It's good to hear, and we'll keep you nice and busy over the next couple of days. Ian, thank you very much. It's great talking to
Thanks,
you,
James.
and all the best with the rest of the show, and of course with the company and products.
Thanks. Good speaking with you.